money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Customer, clientele. I was broke, that was last year. Getting money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Benjamin, nothing less. I was broke, that was last year. Don't change on me. I never switched up. Been down since day one. Stay social. People change on me. I never switched up. Social currency.
Okay, everybody, we're back. Had a couple technical difficulties, but you know what? Let's talk about what's going on here in the great state of Colorado.
Aha.
Because I've heard of some shenanigans in Colorado Springs that I'm actually not okay with. I'm seeing people in other states covering our state better than Colorado's covering itself. So Colorado Springs had some BLM activities, had some protesting, had some rallying, had some some activities, and there was a police officer that literally made a fake account and was posting posts such as "kill them all." If that's not racism, if that's not a terroristic threat, what is a terroristic threat, Marcus?
Well, it's a threat to create terror and fear into a person, hopefully with the goal of forcing them either to threatening to kill them, to eradicate them. That's generally what it is in that aspect. But it's specific in that it is designed to create terror. And terror is designed to go beyond just you, but to anyone who is, let's say, your similar racial makeup background. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to create terror within your community.
So I asked those questions because this officer that made those threats saying kill them all actually would not even be fired by his chief. That chief said, I don't want to rob the city of a good police officer.
Let's pause for a second. I don't want to rob the city of a good police officer?
Yep.
Huh. The guy that said kill them all.
The guy that actually hid his face, hid his hand, and said this. He wasn't willing to say it out loud, say it as his own identity, but he said it surreptitiously. That's the word I was looking for. Surreptitiously as under a false pseudonym. So when we have things like that, what you have is that's obvious knowledge of guilt.
Absolutely. Well, and that's and crimes,
you're rubbing off on me with your lawyer stuff.
Well, yeah, crimes are obviously based upon the mental mindset. He had the mental mindset. He knew what he was doing. In fact, it was intentional with what he was doing. This is crazy. Actually, I'm reading this story. He says he was listening to Metallica's "Kill 'Em All" on the way home, and he kept copying and pasting it on Facebook before Facebook finally shut him down. Why did Facebook shut him down, which has a high support, allegedly, for First Amendment rights? Well, in this particular situation, they shut him down because it was terroristic threats.
Hey, officer, I'm black, but I listen to a lot of Metallica, and there's other songs you could have chosen, like "For Whom the Bell Tolls." So if you want to start naming Metallica songs that can just be said, you could say those types of things. But I don't want to make a threat. I don't want anything bad to happen to this officer. I just want him off my police force because he cannot police successfully. This man is racist and cannot responsibly hold the lives of the black community in his hands.
So here's the funny part about this. So there was an internal investigation done. Now, we all know that internal affairs are jokes because it's just officers of the same police department investigating themselves. So we know it's a joke. It's always has been a joke, which is why we are strong advocates for public accountability committees who are outside of the police department. But anyway, I digress. But to this point, the internal investigation found out that he didn't actually plan to cause physical harm to the protesters. Now, I find that quite ludicrous. And the reason I find that ludicrous is because he's a cop, so he has a badge, right? Mm-hmm. He has a gun, right? Mm-hmm. He has a patrol car, is that right? Mm-hmm. And he also has access most likely to either a pump gun, shotgun in his car, or maybe even a small M4 semi-automatic machine gun in his car.
They love those.
So I am pretty sure that you don't know what his intent was, but here's what I know. I know that you have an officer that has multiple weapons: gun, car, long rifle, shotgun. he very easily could cause physical harm to these people.
And all the non-lethals. But here's what the crux of the matter is. Here's what the crux of the matter is. Where else did that bias influence his policing? So if he's willing to see people say Black Lives Matter and then respond with kill them all, what about when he sees a black mother with 3 children and she got a speeding ticket and he could possibly go further with this, and he just decides, hey, you know what, I smell marijuana.
And I'm willing to guarantee, as a practicing criminal defense attorney, I guarantee you that what you see is what is always has been, even if it's whether it's in the light or in the dark. I guarantee you the way that he acts that way with any black person he encounters. And you say, well, how can you make that? I've been doing this too long. It's a pattern. It's a habit. Yep. It's a habit to the extent that he didn't even realize it because he does it all the time.
And he was willing to be bold-faced with it. At that point,
Yeah.
once he knew his identity was protected, he's willing to actually say what he wanted to do. Because you notice he didn't say all lives matter, them all.
Right.
He said kill them all. He was denoting murder. That was actually murder he was talking about, guys. So that's not a laughing matter. It's not a joke. Here's the problem. This is why we're so nonchalant about this, because it's old as the day is long.
Absolutely.
This is the tale that we've been constantly telling you. So all of our white allies, believe us. And we're going to have to start having Republicans on, because these examples are examples. They are literally examples. And I know that it becomes, when you're actually talking about real data, this is anecdotal, right? This is one officer. But there's only so many individual stories before it becomes data. It becomes a large number after you have so many doing the exact same thing. It's almost like there's a trend of officers being racist. So when people talk about defund the police, this is who they're talking about defunding.
Absolutely.
And they don't want to say no one should have consequences for breaking the law. They want to say that we're going to take responsibility away from these people that cannot handle it correctly and put it into the hands of the people that can handle it correctly. So would you want this officer to show up to your house if your black uncle is having a mental health breakdown? What if he's hearing, I have family members with mental health issues. I had a relative that was lost for a few days and was found on the side of the road attacking their personal vehicle, saying that signals were being sent out of it, right? There was an obvious mental breakdown, right? And they're doing much better today. This officer might have killed my family member.
So I want to go back to a couple things you said. This is not murder. This is first-degree murder. He was advocating for first-degree murder, premeditated murder, because there's second-degree murder in some counties, in states there's third-degree murder, and there's manslaughter. But this is first-degree murder because it was premeditated. I wanted to make sure we hit that particular point in time.
Sheesh, premeditated. So, hey, check this out. What if you didn't catch this? And he literally said, kill them all. Then he pulls someone over, and then the old trope, I smell marijuana, breaks out.
Yep.
They start singing the I Smell Marijuana song. And next thing you know, he's doing an illegal search, and someone has any sort of resistance, and he pops a cap in them. All they got to do is say he resisted, he reached for his waist, which your hands are naturally situated near your waist, or say grab for my gun, or turn off their body cam. They're notorious for this type of thing. We had to make legislation about it because they're so notorious about it here. And then it's your word versus his.
Yep.
And he gets the automatic credibility because he's a peace officer. He's an officer of the law. He's employed by the state. He's part of the machine.
And in the state of Colorado, we use the term good faith belief. He was acting in good faith. So, yes, an officer will always be given the benefit of doubt. The ironic part about all of this, quite frankly, is that when you're in trial and the trial judge is sitting there talking to a jury, and the judge says, will you take a police officer's word over that of a regular lay witness? And usually, if they're being honest, they'll say, well, yes, because he's a police officer. And they're held to the highest standards. But then the judge says, well, no, you have to hold them to the same standards. No one does. And neither do the judges themselves. Me as a judge, I hold them to the exact same standards as I would hold just any other person. And I don't give them any more or less simply because they wear a badge. And so the other aspect that I want to address that you were talking about as well, this trend, this is not trend, this is fact.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm getting sick of hearing the terms of the few bad apples. Here's the thing. It's cultural within a system that is darn near impossible to reverse, which is why you have folks calling out defund the police, because you have to reverse the culture. In this case, you can't reverse the culture. You have to break it down start over.
Hold on. In the statement, a few bad apples, continue that statement. What do they say about the few bad apples? They ruined the whole bunch.
Exactly.
The bunch has been ruined.
Culture.
It's the culture. So, yeah, you're right. There were a few bad apples. And actually, you want to get, biological or talk about the chemistry of it, they start emitting certain gases that speed up the over-ripening or the rotting process for the other ones. But let's extrapolate that to these officers. A few officers say racist things on Facebook. Mm-hmm. They advocate for killing of black people if they were to protest, saying that their lives matter in the first place. Mm-hmm. Does anyone notice the irony of that? Black people say their lives matter, and the police say, kill them.
Kill them all. Multiple times, copied and pasted.
What else do you need to hear? What else do you need to hear?
So I'm reading this story, and it's doing nothing but frustrating the heck out of me in this sense. He says, I don't want to take him out of the community. I don't want to condemn this officer. The officer is human, too, and makes mistakes. So what about those young black men and young black women who made mistakes? What about Philando Castile, who was trying to tell the officer, I have a permit, can I grab my wallet? Grab her, yeah, go ahead. No, don't do it, do it. Don't do it, don't do it. Was that a mistake worth losing his life over? If you say yes, and clearly they did believe it because the officer had no charges filed against him. Here's my question. This guy made a mistake. Is it worth losing his job over? Yes. There's nothing else to talk about.
On the other end of the pendulum, when black defendants or suspects make a mistake, they die.
So don't say it's an exaggeration, because that's the crap I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that it's an exaggeration. In the state of Colorado, we already got 28 police officer shootings. 41 police officer shootings. 28 people have died in the state of Colorado
from the shootings.
From shootings of the cops.
Wow. So, what we have here is no new news. There's no news here. Same old, same old. Breaking news, the same crap is going on today in the year 2020. And that's why I said this year is crazy, but it's going by fast. Because black folks, we're used to it. We're used to worse and lower healthcare outcomes. COVID. Anything else, heart disease, cancer. We're used to less pain treatment. We're used to less visits from the doctor, more being told to just grab a ibuprofen and go on about your business. We're used to those things. Mm-hmm. We're used to dying more often at the hands of the police. We're used to having the police want to kill us. You're not used to seeing it, America. You're not used to seeing it.
So, we're ready to hit the next subject?
Yeah, let's hit it.
So, this subject angers me.
Uh-oh.
A lot. And so let's get to it. Tanya McDowell. If you don't know the name, look her up. Find out who she is. This was a woman. She's a black woman who was homeless. She lied about the school district to which she didn't live in so that she can get her 6-year-old son into a different school district so her son could get a better education.
But what's wrong with that? Because all conservatives really just want education choice. Every single Republican I hear talk about education with us being on the school board want parents to be able to put their children into the best school or district for their child. That's what I keep hearing. It's called choice.
Choice. That's right.
They advocate for choice. So this conservative atmosphere that we're in right now under a conservative administration, I'm sure there were no negative repercussions.
Yeah, I wish there wasn't. But apparently, if your skin is black, there's negative repercussions. And am I race baiting? No. But here's what I'm going to tell you right now. So she was homeless, but she knew that she knows that education is the key for her 6-year-old son. So she lied about the address to which she lived in so her son could get into that school. And what happened? Some folks discovered it, and they called the police, and she was arrested. She went to trial. She lost. And guess what that negative repercussion is?
What was that?
5 years in prison.
Oh, I thought you were going to say slap on the wrist. No, black woman got 5 years. Okay. What's the big problem with this, Marcus? She broke the law. She did not tell the truth.
Oh, well, let me give you two examples. Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. Felicity Huffman, what did she do? She paid $15,000 to an SAT teacher administrator so that somebody would take the test for her child so that her child could get a high SAT score in order to get into a quote-unquote better college. Better school. Isn't that what Tanya McDowell was trying to get into? A better school. Felicity Huffman paid $15,000, which is illegal, to have someone take the exam. Oh, by the way, her husband was part of it too, William H. Macy, but he didn't get arrested.
But wait a minute. Did Tanya McDowell pay somebody off to get her child into a better school?
No.
So there wasn't all of this rigmarole to commit this crime. It literally was just write a different address, and that was the extent of it?
That was the extent of it.
Wow, because there seems to have been a criminal conspiracy with Felicity Huffman.
Well, she only got 14 days in jail. 14 days in jail. Oh, let's talk about Lori Loughlin, who denied it. But that woman paid somewhere in the excess of what? Her and her husband paid excess of $200,000 to get both of their daughters into USC.
Wait, did they do the fake pictures, the Photoshop pictures of them in rowing?
Rowing, that's it. And I did rowing in
gracious.
college, by the way. That is a hard sport. But yes, they paid.
I've done the machine a little bit.
Oh, hey,
that was tough enough.
Well, get out there on the lake. It is no joke. But let me tell you, of all the sports, they had both of them Photoshop pictures of them taking pictures on a boat like they were at regattas, and they were celebrating their victories, but they actually didn't do any of this. They'd never been on a rowing machine in their life.
So this is this is a criminal conspiracy. Mm-hmm. This is not a single false data point to help your child. This was paying off people. This was taking further actions. This is putting together false facts, falsifying data to a large extent. When you start photoshopping, you're going far. That takes hours upon hours to do. I've done it. It takes a while. But speaking of fraud in our two-tier justice system, because that's what this is an exemplar of, once again, is a two-tier justice system. Let's talk about Stephen F. Bannon.
But before we even go there real quickly, I just want to tell you what her sentence was. She got 2 months in jail.
Oh, this one that photoshopped everything?
Yes. 2 months in jail, and Tanya McDowell got 5 years in prison.
So the homeless black woman trying to send her son to a better school, still regular school, not college, not faking SATs or anything like that. 5 years in prison. The two rich white people that falsified tons of data and put together all these people to walk in a line actually paid off testing administrators. So that actually may have a negative consequence on other test takers. This makes a false atmosphere around the test for anyone in that district needing to take SATs. They could be technically ruining education for tons of students.
These girls, all three of them, took spots from students who actually put in the work and deserved it. And then Tanya McDowell said, my 6-year-old son, I don't regret what I did to get him into a better school. And she shouldn't regret it because she's trying to find what's best, because she's homeless and she's saying, I don't want my son to be homeless.
You know who always makes that argument about taking a spot of someone who deserves it? That's what the conservatives say about affirmative action. They systematically underfund public education, knowing that the worst of those conditions are going to go to black and brown individuals, knowing that it's going to go to minority and poverty-stricken communities. So they take away the benefits to those people to try to overcome the effects of white supremacy and racism in a broken education system. We're both on the school board. We can tell you the education system is broken because we're given a bunch of pieces and expected to make it work.
Let me push back. Like the criminal justice system is not broken. It was designed the way it is.
Say it.
And it's operating exactly how it's supposed to. And guess what? I would dare say that I believe that our school system is not broken, but simply designed the way it is operating currently.
Exactly. So what I can reword that as less than ideal for black, brown, and poor people.
Facts.
It's not designed to benefit folks like us.
Nope.
So when we have that going on, the number one thing that people say is if you try to mitigate those circumstances, that you're taking away opportunities from my Susan, my little Sally would have been in there, and look at her scores. Also,
Yes.
look at the silver spoon. Nay, golden spoon your child was born with. Look at that. Look at the generational wealth that your child is the beneficiary of, the benefactor of.
Right.
Look at all these situations that come before this. This black woman, Tanya McDowell, did not have those beneficial things that were already coming before she even stepped into this world. She comes from generations upon generations of racism, white supremacy, slavery, undereducation, miseducation, trauma, mistreatment. So she had so many glass ceilings. I wonder if she was on an even playing field, if she would have even been homeless. I wonder
that as well. Clearly, she had the mental fortitude to say, you know what, I know that I need to get my son in a better place. If she was on the same playing field as, say, Lori Loughlin or Felicity Huffman and William H. Macy, I'm pretty sure that she probably would have got her son to these places, but not with the cheating, the fraud, the deceit, none of that nonsense. So, yes, I'm calling out these two privileged white women and these two privileged white men in that aspect, because if no one realizes the hypocrisy or in that aspect the difference between these two, I don't know what to tell you.
I talked about this though. I talked about the talk. We all have the talk about when the cops pull you over. You need to have your hands on the steering wheel. You need to have your wallet somewhere nearby and be extra careful, be respectful to this officer, or he may kill you. But there's another talk. I got this talk. If you're black, you're going to have to work twice as hard as your white counterpart to receive the same outcome in the workplace, in education, in the world, period. Not when a cop pulls you over, when you're trying to succeed. That's the talk that I got. That's where my work ethic came from. That's why the first day I worked overtime. That's why I work so hard today. And that's why we need DBT, because these sorts of things have been going on since 1950, the 50s when my mom was born, and are still going on 60, 70 years later today when we're in the information age. We have the internet in our pocket. We can talk to anyone in the world with this little touchscreen phone. And we can't figure out how to give black kids the same opportunities at education as white kids?
That's it, yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. How can you go from one zip code to another and have two different education systems within the same state? How does that work?
Same city.
Within the same city, within the same district.
Yeesh. Exactly.
Hey, so we can do some stuff about this, but here's the problem. It takes an entire sea change. We're gonna have to flip this whole system upside down. So I was actually on a conference recently with the Colorado People's Alliance, and there's not only are there young people talking about defund the police, there's young people talking about abolish the police. And the abolition movement isn't even saying we don't want to police anything. They're saying just not like this.
And that's because you can't reverse hundreds of years of culture that's been built up in these police departments. So somebody's going to say, well, you're against the police. No. I am against the culture that has created it okay for a police officer to shoot an unarmed black man or an unarmed black woman, or to approach a young black man who's simply walking home and filling with ketamine. That's the culture that has created and bred this. And the criminal justice system says, you know what? You were acting in good faith. This is nonsense. No, I'm not against police officers. I'm not against that, but I am against all of those who buy into this culture. People say, well, there's good officers out there. Well, here's what a good officer does. A good officer calls it out and goes and reports it.
Yep. Or, God forbid, stop it while it's going on. A few weeks ago, we had some young black girls get pulled over by our own police department and thrown on the pavement at gunpoint because their car or their SUV had the same license plate number as a stolen motorcycle. Right? So, one, bad policing. If the license plate number says motorcycle from another state, you don't pull over an SUV from your state. Two, if the children are unarmed, you don't put guns in their face, especially when they're between the ages of 17 and 6 years old. 3, you don't put them face down on burning hot concrete because it kind of sucks. You treat them as if they're human beings and their life matters just as much as yours. So if I remind you that my black life matters, or that this young girl's black life matters, don't take offense to it. Don't say kill them. Say, why are they thinking that they need to remind us that their lives matter?
Exactly.
And look, I'm not even a member of Black Lives Matter. Isn't this crazy?
Me neither. But yeah, you're right. You're right. But I do got black skin. And I can tell you right now that my life matters. Yep. As did those little girls' lives matters. And by the way, don't want to hear all lives matter, because if you truly believe that, you would be advocating right along next to those folks who are saying Black Lives Matter.
Absolutely. So all the All Lives Matter people should be walking in the same protest with the Black Lives Matter people.
All day. But instead, it has become an opposite statement to Black Lives Matter. It's a joke. And I'm glad these days I'm not hearing so much of this nonsense of Blue Lives Matter, because unless there's some aliens that came down from another world and their skin is truly blue, blue lives don't exist.
They sure don't.
They don't exist. Because here's the thing. Black folks can't take off this skin and shed it. But officers can take off that uniform.
So there's a story that I never got to get around to, and we're gonna put up the article or even a little clip of this video. There was a black officer that was off duty and was pulled over by a white officer.
Yes. Oh, I remember that.
He left that encounter in fear of his life. He immediately recorded a video saying, "This is screwed up. They want to kill us." That officer immediately had his gun drawn and refused to follow protocol to secure the situation.
Exactly.
He wanted it to be dangerous. And the only way that I even knew anything about it, because I don't know about officer protocol, only way I knew about it was because this black officer pointed out that he should have done things differently if he didn't want to be put at risk. So when are these officers that are saying kill them all, or saying all lives matter, or thin blue line or whatever? By the way, the thin blue line means don't snitch on officers.
That's exactly what it means.
That's what the blue line is in the middle of that Blue Lives Matter flag.
And it frustrates the heck out of me that no one seems to get it. So when you got these people hanging these flags, what you're saying is, if you're a cop, don't snitch if you see another cop doing something. That's what the thin blue line is. When people talk about that, they talk about it like it's some glorious thing. No, it's talking about don't snitch when you see your fellow officer doing something illegal.
Yep.
That's it. All right, dude, we got to transition because I'm getting riled up over this. But it's a fact.
It's something worth getting riled up about. And, this is something we can't shy away from because it won't stop coming at us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, this is not news, new news, as you said already. This is not new news.
Yep. Breaking news, water is wet.
So I know where you wanted to head. Go ahead. We already mentioned it a little bit ago. Go for it. No, you said Steve Bannon. So let's go. I got some info for this.
So speaking of a two-tier justice system, Stephen F. Bannon, and I wonder if you can tell what the F stands for in my vernacular.
Okay, family show.
Family friendly. That's where the F comes from. F is for family. Stephen Family Bannon just got indicted and arrested for fraud. Now, I love my Republican brothers and sisters as if they're just as human as I am. I think their life matters just as much as mine.
Sure.
But you're idiots and you gave your money to liars and fraudsters. Donald Trump defrauded you before he was in office. He took your money for the veterans. He didn't give it to the veterans until they sued him. I have veteran friends that were supporting him. And I'm like, hey, look at this. And they explained it away. Now, you same racist idiots, not just regular idiots, but the racist idiots are over here giving money to building a wall as if walls have ever stopped immigration. Walls do not stop immigration. Walls stop walking immigration in the area of the wall. Also, it helps when the walls don't blow over like Trump's wall did. And it also has to be complete. So they donated over $25 million to this organization. I believe it was $25 million.
It was $25 million. It's $25 million. Yep.
So I just want to make sure I'm accurate with this. So $25 million was donated to this fund to build the wall. One, where's your wall? Two, where's your money? I'm going to tell you where it's at. Steve Bannon took at least $1 million of it.
And then his other three compadres also took millions of it as well.
So they get indicted in the president. So if Steve Bannon gets caught for fraud, the president goes out and says, it was a bad thing. I feel sorry for him, blah, blah, blah. I'm noticing that if you support the president substantially, the law doesn't necessarily apply to you.
That's it. That's exactly it. That's a fact. Here's the thing, though. And I don't want to get too far off because there seems to be a pattern here. We have some laws in the state of Colorado called pattern. It's pattern as it relates to sex assault. In other words, there's a pattern of practice how a person is grooming a child to commit an act. But here's the thing. The president also has a pattern. He's also been grooming all of his compadres, and they have been committing the same acts. So let me just give you a little something. All of Trump's associates convicted or sentenced. Michael Cohen, his former lawyer. The lawyer is close to the client. Paul Manafort, former Trump campaign chairman.
Wait, let's give a status though. Michael Cohen is still incarcerated because he actually told on the president.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. George Papadopoulos, also former campaign advisor. Your advisors and your campaign chairman work extremely closely with whoever that person is that's running, in this case, Trump. Richard Pinedo, California resident, found guilty. Alex Vanderswan, Manafort Associates, Dutch lawyer. Roger Stone, a Trump advisor. Rick Gates, Manafort Associate, business partner. These are the people who were found guilty. Now, you also have those that are been indicted. You have 13 Russian nationals, 12 Russian military intel officers, among others. So here's the question. If these are the people who you surround yourself with, and they're all guilty, what does that make Trump?
I think it's a criminal. He's leading a criminal network. I almost said mastermind. That's why I stopped myself twice.
Yeah, exactly.
I stopped myself because I was going to say mastermind.
Yes.
He's not a mastermind. And I'm sorry. A video came up in my recommended on YouTube talking about Trump's communication style, saying he's a master communicator, master influencer.
What?
If he's a master influencer, so is my cell phone. So are my shoelaces. So is this wall. I'm sorry. Billboards are master influencers. So they're saying because he's repetitive and he breaks things down to the simplest thing. So that works for communicating with idiots. Repeating yourself is successful with idiots. Regular thinking people do not just believe you if you say it 10 times. I'm sorry. Repetition does help. It does influence, but it does not convince with when it comes to actual factual data.
I'm not even going to comment on it. When you said master communicator, I was done. I was absolutely done.
So our society is making a two-tiered acceptance system as well.
That's factual.
There's
right
a two-tiered acceptance system. So what I'm saying is there are two tiers to this country. There's an underclass that is being created, and this is not even a remnant. This is a repercussion of uber capitalism. So we need poor people to have rich people. We need people that will be accepted to have people that will not be. You understand exactly what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So you make any excuse to accept the rich, powerful white men in this country. Things have not changed. They've taken off the white powdered wigs and they wear their own dyed and implanted hair. That's about the only difference. They still wear the dumb outfits.
Facts. I got nothing else to say.
Nothing else really to say about it.
If there is a pattern, this is it. I saw a chart of.
Imagine a Tanya McDowell of this fraud indictment.
So I saw a chart of all of the past 6 or 7 presidents, and it talked about number of folks indicted, number of folks convicted, and so for, let's see, Jimmy Carter. I think there was 1 indicted, but no conviction. And I know I'm probably off a little bit. For Bill Clinton, I think there was maybe 1 indicted, maybe 2 indicted, no convictions. And for President Obama, no indictments, of course, no convictions. You had Ronald Reagan, who had something like 60 and 70. Then you had Richard Nixon, who had double that. And I would be willing to bet money that Trump has just as many as Richard Nixon in terms of indictments.
If not more.
If not more. Now, talk to me about that. Talk to me about that. These are Republican presidents with all of this history. But yet the Democratic presidents don't have that? And they tried with Hillary, though. They did try.
Oliver North, bro.
Oh, gosh.
Oliver North. Just talk about that. I mean, and look, we don't even have to go into that. All we're saying is you have 2 tiers. You're being intellectually inconsistent by allowing Donald Trump to get away with the shenanigans that he keeps on pulling with our White House.
Yes.
P.S. Democracy called, and they want our elections back.
Facts.
So we need to not shut down our post office, which is also one of the best places where black people in America have gone from lower class to middle class. So it's always been a ladder up the it's been a class ladder. The post office has provided security and retirement for so many minorities, and also it's also packed full of conservative Republican white men. I really wonder what they think about Donald Trump's chair of the Postal Service,
Postmaster DeJoy.
Postmaster DeJoy.
There's no joy. There's no joy here at all.
Trying to keep the hate out. Trying to keep the hate out. But I'm wondering how they feel about him cutting their overtime, dismantling their machines so they can produce less, and saying, "Hey, I'm just focused on the trucks leaving on time." I'm gonna tell you something. Haven't been at the post office. The trucks always leave on time. The trucks always have a time buffer built into their schedule, so they always are forced to sit and wait for the mail until that exact time that's on that mailbox. If that mailbox has any one piece of mail in it, when that time comes up, that's on the sticker, they're going to come and empty it, and the driver cannot leave until that one envelope is put onto his truck. That is that is the motto. That is what exactly it means.
Wow.
So they build it all in for traffic. They build a buffer in for weather. They build a buffer in for accidents, for breakdowns. You will never run out of time. The trucks do not leave late. Period.
Just educated me. Sheesh.
That does not happen.
No idea. I had no idea.
Absolutely. And when there's a threat of it happening, there's more trucks.
Oh.
Sheesh. And that's without overtime. And also, when you talk about election season overlaps with the holidays. The holidays are so crazy at the post office, they're hiring for 6 months beforehand. So if they knew that there was going to be expanded demand in November, they have, how many months do we got? We still got at least 2 months to do some hiring. So you don't have to get overtime. You can just have extras. They're called extras, by the way. You just have extra drivers waiting around. Why? Because we got ballots dropping into the mailboxes.
Wow.
So stop picking up the mailboxes. Stop shutting down the overtime. Stop shutting down the trucks. Stop slowing down the stuff. Stop taking away the sorting machines that gets the mail out on time. It's almost as if you don't want the mail to run.
Well, I think that's what number 45 is trying to do.
I'm getting tired of saying his name, too. I'm thinking I'm just going to stick with 45 as well, as a principal.
But I even hate saying that because
he's not legitimate.
Exactly. All right. We went at it today. There's really not much to say. This news is not new news, it's old news, but doggone it, it seems to just evolve.
Well, let's close out on something positive. So, DBT was involved in the Caravan for Justice, hashtag 1,000 miles for Breonna.
Right.
We had a caravan of folks, black folks in the Aurora and Denver community that traveled 1,000 miles to Louisville, Kentucky to go and support the protesters out there at Ground Zero, the Injustice Square, where they protest the police in the city for justice for Breonna Taylor. Well, guess what? DBT family member Shanika Carter has continued organizing and fundraising, and they have now flown, with philanthropic dollars, have now flown Kentucky protesters, rally attenders, and members of the Kentucky Alliance from Louisville to Aurora, Colorado,
Absolutely.
Denver, Colorado, and they are right now, probably, is it 5?
It's almost 5:30. So
yeah, they are right now at the Capitol organizing.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna break this episode. We're gonna go and gather footage. We're not gonna have live. Well, we can probably go Facebook Live or something like that. Check out our Facebook page, and you'll see some live footage from that. We're talking about 2,000 miles of travel, and all money from philanthropic sources. We are not over here selling our souls to cover our expenses. I got a check for incidentals. We are doing this thing. We're going about it through the proper avenues.
Absolutely.
You're going to see what it looks like when black folks really organize and really rise up for justice. We already passed SB 20-217, taking away qualified immunity from these officers. So when they kill somebody, they're actually held under scrutiny of the law.
Absolutely.
And now we're traveling from hotspot to hotspot to try to advocate for justice.
That's our plan. So
here's a problem. We're probably not going to get true justice for Elijah McClain. We have a Democrat in name only, or you can call a true Democrat, in Dave Young. Dave Young does not want to prosecute those officers, right? That's the real problem. But the solution is this right here, what you're seeing. Black media, black organizing, black political action, and philanthropic dollars being funneled through that to help us achieve our goal of getting this justice. So that brings us into the ask. Go to patreon.com/dopeblackthoughts. You need to donate to our cause. We're going to go and be part of the media pool at this protest. If you say you support the black community, you say you support black businesses, put your money where your mouth is, become a monthly recurring donor. Instead of giving me $20, how about give me $5 a month for the next year?
That's it.
You know, I'm not asking for anything crazy. I don't want to hurt your pocketbook. Hey, it's a recession. It's the Trump COVID recession. So I totally understand if times are hard. Give me $5 a month for a year. Do that.
And on top of that, be willing to put out who we are. Tell your friends about DBT. Go to any of your favorite podcast channels, whether that's Apple Podcasts, whether that's Spotify, whether that's Google Play, whether that's Overcast, whether that's Pocket Cast. Go to any of those and support us on there as well. Give us a listen, and then tell other people about DBT as well. We are out here putting out the word of the black voice, the black thoughts, the black beliefs. Because guess what? Everybody seems to love our culture, but nobody wants to live in our culture.
Woo. That was a dope black thought of the day. DBT out.
Peace.